Hello, welcome back to Navigating the Shift. Here's Annabelle and Sarah, and we can start off with a little bit of news, if you like. Last week, I mentioned Evergreen, which has been around for a week now. Plenty of people are starting to spread information about it and the possibility of what is in those containers and why the skipper is so adamant that he doesn't want them opened, even though it's been sitting there and it's going to need repairing. I think they've actually dislodged it, but it needs repairs and it can't go anywhere. The Egyptian president has ordered that it be unloaded, and this is in the Sun, but you'll find it in quite a few different places, saying that the Suez Canal ship's captain and crew have been placed under house arrest. So, yeah. So we don't know why yet, as to whether it's just because they caused damage or if it's because they've actually opened some of those containers yet. There's been a piece from Dexter, the TV series that was around.
Right, I was just going to mention that.
Yeah. I can put it here without any sound, but you can see that this is where he goes up to an evergreen container, and there's another one in the background, just in case you missed the word, while he's walking up to it and see what they pull out the door. It shows you that this has probably been going on a very long time. They knew that this is what Evergreen is about.
Yeah. So the story of this character Dexter is he's actually like a psychopath, and he's a cop, and really, really smart. But he was abused as a child, and so after hours, when he's not on duty, he goes out and takes down the child traffickers and child abusers. From the hints they get at work. So he's a little bit wacky, but and who wouldn't be if you've been MK Ultra'd and, sexually abused your whole life, all this other nasty shit they do. So very interesting.
Meanwhile, in France, there is a full lockdown that is about to start on the 3rd of April, and it's going to go for 4 weeks. Now, why these things happen is interesting again. I don't know if it means that they're doing work underground or if they're doing arrests, but it's very specifically 4 weeks. Up in Brisbane and Queensland here, Australia, they did a lockdown just for a matter of days. I mean, where's the rules here? They just don't seem to match. And also in Finland, they backed down on doing a lockdown. There was obviously enough pressure from the people or from the human rights groups that were there saying that lockdown is not acceptable. And so they backed down and didn't do any lockdown at all.
The other thing that just as we've been talking about the fact that the mainstream media is starting to come around and actually tell a little tiny bit of truth. And of course, Biden is getting more and more insane, where he says, oh my God, so the new Georgia laws they're trying to get through will close the voting at 5 p.m. And that's just evil or something, a sin. It's a sin against humanity. I mean, he's just using these really dramatic words, and he's begging, please, governors of these states that have ended your mask mandates, please reinstate them. I'm begging of you. The people need you to do this. And it's so dramatic and stupid. And, he tripped a little bit again he's going up supposedly up Air Force One with this big old umbrella and like a big old expensive brand names, not a briefcase, it's more like a satchel. So the president never carries his briefcase on board, 1. 2, it makes sure that his hands are held so he's not touching handrail, and he's walking like super deliberately, foot up, down, and still he catches it on the edge. And
do you think that it's actually an old man in his 70s that's doing that, or do you think
I think it's a good character actor.
Right, a different body, because that
that physical acting like John Kerry can do stuff like that.
Yeah, but
really,
the idea of a young person trying to be an old person is sometimes very difficult, and they still have a bit of a spring in their step or a bit of energy there that would not normally be there for an old person. So
if you're very good, maybe it doesn't happen that way. But so, at any rate, this thing about the 5 p.m. closing the polls, he's like, before people are just getting off of work, what are the working people to do? Well, that's not the way it's written. Polls always close at 8 p.m. here, but the week early voting options are closing at 5. So even the Washington Post, the most far left newspaper there is gave him 4 Pinocchios for the 5 p.m. thing, which is like,
Oh,
wow. And
yeah.
evidently, lots of liberal people are really just the regular old liberal Democrat people, regular folk, not the actors, are going, this isn't right. This is not right. People are starting to figure it out. That's hopeful.
Mm.
Matt Gaetz has been doing some investigations about the border, I believe, that showed that it isn't just the cartels that are helping people across, it's U.S. taxpayer money
Mm.
being given through U.S. aid going to those lovely NGOs, non-governmental organizations. And those guys are helping people to surge to the border. And of course, he's been accused of having sex with a 17-year-old prostitute, which he says is totally not true. It was maybe a year ago. I was listening to the radio today and they were talking about it. And what happened is somebody came up to his father and offered him attempted to extort him for like $25 million, saying, we can help you get this guy out of Iran if you give us this money. But everybody believes the guy, I'm sorry, I don't have his name, has been long dead. He says, and if you help us with that, we can get these investigations to go away. So there's this big extortion to try to get, we're going to do this if you don't give us all this money. And it's come out. I mean, it's on left-wing media that they're talking about this. So things are coming around. And you know why? So we've talked about this a bunch, that me, you, a lot of other people looked at like the last week or so of March, and everybody got the date March 23rd. And there's this beautiful Mars conjunct the sun and all these other lovely trines and groovy things with stuff going on. And it was sort of like, well, what really happened? And I will say, for me personally, the energy shifted. I started feeling lighter, more enthusiastic. Did you too?
I've just had a really good week anyway, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, things have gone rather nice. So I didn't watch all of it. It was on BitChute, and it's one of those times when it doesn't go smoothly. And if you try to go ahead a little too much by speeding it up and it gets past where it's already, it just stops and never starts again. Then you have to go all the way back to the beginning and you can't speed through I mean, it's really frustrating. So I didn't get to have time to try to watch the whole thing. But the channel is called Nicholas the Niemann, and his guest is a woman named Mikki Klam, Mikiklam. And she's an astrologer who does not have a Christian background. As a matter has been somewhat suspicious of it all. But she's gotten some information and did a lot of exploring and was looking at how the revelations relate to astrology. And I wrote it September 23rd, 2017. There was what appeared to be in the sky, one of the major revelations. Oh my God, I meant to write down the words for it. But at any rate, I wrote an article on it at the time. So I'll link to that below. You can read it, about the woman with the 12 stars over her head and the moon beneath her feet. Remember that one? And she gives birth and all this stuff. And the planet that was in the sign of Virgo, Virgin, and it goes like through her torso, retrogrades back, and then goes back out. And that period of the retrograde was 9 months. So it's like gestation period, of course. And that was Jupiter. So this woman, Mikki, has been looking at it and correlating various parts of Revelation to astrology. And basically what she said is that September 23, 2017 was the middle of the tribulations. And it's 7 years long. And goes through so many interesting examples. So Jupiter travels the full circuit through the constellations every 12 months or so. And it does a retrogrades 12 times a year. So going back to, when was it? Oh, September 28th, 2012 would have been right about the beginning of Revelations, 3.5 years prior to the other.
Right.
And Trump put out a tweet said Trump registers an LLC called Jupiter Golf Club. And he says, and there's awesome new clock at Trump Jupiter. Would look good between range, putting green, will happen. So it's like a lot of people have described astrology or the movement of constellations as a clock. So it's like, go look, there's a new clock, and it has to do with Jupiter. So Jupiter is the thing that we're watching track through the various signs, and that's how the revelations are written for that. So it gets pretty good. Jupiter goes through Gemini, and the ancient before the patriarchy took over had Gemini as lovers, a man and a woman, and Gemini is the lovers in Tarot, which is interesting. So that seems to make sense in the major arcana. So Jupiter went into Gemini and basically went from one to the other's belly or groin area, retrograded and went back through again, and then went out where it was in the sign of Orpheus. It was where it was fighting the serpent, which was after the golden crown, the crown. That's the revelation part. So the name of this is Corona Borealis.
Oh, what?
And when this happened was right around when the Corona thing started.
Huh.
So it's like that was in there. I mean, it's just so interesting, all this stuff. You can go look at the video if you want the details, because I'm afraid I'm going to mess them up. But the bottom line is 3.5 years after September 23, 2017 is March 23, 2021.
Ah, I see.
So basically, the tribulation ended on March 23. And you and I, we checked in with the team, right? And what did you get right before we started recording here? We have a team out there.
Excitement, and the feeling of or the I don't know if it's a movement or a vision of like that, like
Woo!
taking off. Yeah.
Yeah. And what I got was sort of like the last few times we've checked in, they're like, we're really busy. There's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
Just do your thing. We're busy here. Just, you're fine. Just do your thing.
Yeah.
And this time it was like, relax, relief. This is the good stuff. Yay.
Yeah.
And of course, we know physical is a little slower than the spiritual, but we're through the whole tribulation thing. You know what that means?
It means we should be
The
getting
1,000 years of peace.
Yeah.
The return of Christ, and the Christ consciousness has recently returned to me. I've been talking to him and channeling him. So I'd say that's really fun. And then, also, there was a time in there, which was in the Revelation, is just after when they call the Redeemer is born. And that's when the first 17 post was.
Interesting.
So many things. And I only got maybe halfway through it because I just ran out of time.
Right.
And I had to run off and go do a bunch of things. But
well, the idea of the 1,000 years of peace, as you said, it might take a wee while to come into physical form, because there seems to be a fair bit of military movement at the moment. And that's why we were kind of more discussing, are they getting to the point where, is it just like a big Mexican standoff? Or is it the time to put forward the fake war and freak everybody out because they're no longer freaked by COVID and we need to scare everybody again? Or the excuse to make the arrests? Or what's this about? Why is this happening? All the Russian troops have come down to the border of the Ukraine again. And, I mentioned some last week as well, I think. There seems to be a lot happening there. So we've yet to figure that out as to why it's going on. You just got to lay back and simply observe and watch with curiosity. Don't get freaked out, no matter what the news says. If the news is trying to make you panic, just watch it like a movie.
2 weeks ago or so, or maybe it was last week, when I checked in, I got that there was maybe a 40% chance that they would need to do the fake nuclear war. And when I just checked in now, when you started talking about it, I got 30%. So it could be the thing with Evergreen, and the other stuff is moving along pretty well. And that's sort of the feeling we got from our team, which is like, woohoo, it's starting to move now, right? So we may not have to do that. That was never the most desired pathway. but it would be done if needed. So it looks like we may be moving away from that. That would be nice.
Wouldn't it? Yeah, that would be lovely.
Exciting times.
It is.
Exciting times.
It is. So,
and I think 107 said we've become aware of a dual presidency on April 1st. So we'll see about that. That's
right. We're recording my April 1st. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. And if you think about it, so when Biden they keep showing him climbing into supposedly, the presidential airplane, but you got to realize the insignia of Air Force One goes to in whatever vehicle the president is in. So if he's riding a camel, that camel's across the Arabian desert, that camel is Air Force One. And that coding is given to them by the military. Mm-hmm. So the fact that even though they show him getting on a plane, the plane is supposedly going somewhere, there's no airplane shown in the maps. Yeah. It's called Air Force One.
It's not actually flying anywhere.
Either it's not flying anywhere, or the military says that's not our president.
Right.
So we're not going to give him that. And that seems to be the case. That Tarot by Janine was looking at, and she thought there was a point in time when maybe 30% of the U.S. military were gray or black hats. And then it was down to 20%. So the military, that's 80% people on the side of the white hats. And I think that means things start to move.
Right.
And we shall see.
Yeah.
I got, when I did I've been learning the tarot from watching it with Janine. So I'll look at her readings and I'll, look at the cards and go, right. Okay, so she got that out of this, and I'm taking notes and writing notes in books and things like that. So I'm learning it. And so I did some readings myself just to practice. And I asked you, when will the world know that the Biden is a fake president, fake person, whatever? And I got not to closer to June. And I was disappointed by that.
Well, it's not about being disappointed. You just got to take what it gives you. And
yeah, I was disappointed by that, because we all are just like, yesterday, can it just be like 2 hours instead of 2 months? I really need this to be done. Yeah. So we may have to wait a while.
You just got to keep remembering it's inevitable. The happy ending is inevitable. There is no way out now. There's no way that they can ever win. You got to keep yourself safe, keep out of trouble, just watch what's going on. Even people that are jumping up and down about things that you agree with, I'm finding myself that, if it's like, okay, there's a big protest on Saturday, come along. And my intuition's going, nope.
Yeah. So if you guys have any questions of anything you'd like us to look at, I could do a tarot reading on it, or I could just use my other tools and intuition. Annabelle and I talk about this stuff. We'd love to answer your questions, and please do like and share and subscribe and all that groovy stuff. Thanks.
Sounds good. See you later. Bye.
Bye.